Have you ever had one of those shower thoughts, what if Saitama from One Punch Man went into Harry Potter's world? Well, I sure didn't, but apparently this was the combination that I didn't know I needed, as Mashle is quite a ride. I made the big mistake in 2023 of trying to have a life, and so I skipped over Mashle. Fortunately, the very hilarious opening by Creepy Nuts left me curious enough to where I ended up binging the first season, and I'm now watching weekly the episodes of the second season. And I must emphasize just how good Mashle's second opening is. After all, it single-handedly led me to check out the anime, so it has a lot of good ingredients, from the rap flow that is way better than it has any right to be for a comedy opening, to the shocking revelation that somebody found my old office chair that is super squeaky and somehow sampled it for a beat, okay, to Mashle's absolute deadpan face throughout all of this insanity. And I've been wanting to watch a good gag anime for a while, and when I say gag, I don't mean my physical reaction when I heard that Shield Hero is getting a 4th season. When I say gag, I mean a funny anime, a hilarious anime that plays on physical comedy, an anime that doesn't take itself too seriously. If you watch my tier list for 2023, you'll know that Vinland Saga was my anime of the year, but we can't just watch Vinland Saga. For all this main course we need some light dessert, and Mashle to me is that light dessert at the end of the meal. And I must praise Mashle because it executes what it sets out to do so well that its obvious flaws are clearly overlooked just by the sheer entertainment value. I mean, when I read the synopsis for this, I just rolled my eyes because I thought to myself, isn't this just Black Clover? Mashle portrays a world where magic is everything, where people are placed on the societal hierarchy based on their magic prowess. And of course, our main protagonist, Mash, does not have magic. Where have I heard this before? And so he must overcome his adversities through sheer hard work and big juicy muscles. And yes, the premise is not exactly original, and it has various, how do I word this, references to Harry Potter, which even for me, that I'm not a super Harry Potter enthusiast, I'm like, hey mate, I think I've seen that one before in the cinemas. And yet, despite all of this, the series' goofy humor and self-awareness carries itself to such an entertaining and funny show that to me this is probably the best comedy anime I've seen in the last year or so. Most of Mashle's humor comes from Mash Bandito, a man that is too tough and too dumb to quit. And usually meathead characters are very loud and over the top. I mean, I like Black Clover, but sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and all I can hear is Asta screaming. And so there's a lot of comedy to be had with a character that does the most impossible freakish physical feats of nature, always with a deadpan face and just a chill vibe. Mash is reserved, but he's not a pushover. He's strong, but he's not a bully. He's the main character, but he doesn't want the attention. Mash is the type of guy that nobody would mind spending time with unless for some reason they didn't have door insurance. The author makes a very clear effort to portray Mash as someone who's fighting against a system that's against him, but he never feels like a victim. He's just a dude that will punch his way through every adversity, and you have to respect it. Mash is very simple as a main character, but it's in the simplicity that this series shines. The rest of the cast is also very shonen-esque. No one has a very deep character, I would say, but everyone is a nice addition, even if a bit generic. For example, of course there's a dude who's very loud and his powers consist of making explosions. Where have I seen this one before? We need a loud guy that thinks he's the main character to compensate for Mash's quietness. We need a normal dude that acts as a straight man to play off the comedy in all of this ridiculousness. And we need a guy that's strong and cool and capable and has an unhealthy obsession with his younger sister. Wait, what? That wasn't on the list? Anyways, the characters in Mashle are not deep, but they are effective at making you laugh, and that's what matters. And speaking of characters, we have to talk about the villains, because of course the villains in this type of show are always people that contrast with the comedy, people that take themselves way too seriously and get a cold hard slap of reality by our main character. And we have everything from magic perverts to more magic perverts to a dude that transforms his schoolmates into dolls and sucks their magic. How is any of this allowed by the school? But anyway. And I have to give props to Mashle's story because it strangely works. And I've talked about in the past how important it is for comedy anime to find that sweet spot between comedy and storytelling, because some anime start lacking on the comedy aspect and start transitioning into more standard storytelling, which doesn't always work, and other anime completely forego the storytelling altogether and just focus on the comedy, which starts making the episodes a very incoherent episodic royal rumble of comedic things happening, which may also not always work. As an example, in recent videos I mentioned Helk, who started off as a very funny anime. I still maintain the first 3 episodes or so are incredibly funny, but later in the series the Giga Chad MC joke started wearing a bit thin and the story started transitioning to a more traditional storytelling, I would say, and it just wasn't as compelling as the comedy in the first episodes. Mashle works because it does a seamless mix of action and comedy. It's very funny and also manages to introduce these shonen-esque elements of building up these fights, so I'm always curious what's going to happen next. And Mashle very much has this new age shonen pacing where it's constantly new enemies, new fights, new challenges. The story moves fast and we're constantly moving forward to the next big enemy to defeat. By constantly building towards the hyped battle between our favorite cream puff enthusiast and the next big baddie, the story can more or less carry itself and the comedy can shine through in the in-between. So if you're watching this video and for some reason you still haven't watched Mashle, then I recommend you go check it out if you are into comedy anime or if you are into the very specific genre that I do recognize some people like, which is people without magic in a world of magic. If that's your thing, then go check it out. And if you have watched Mashle, did you enjoy this silliness or do you think I'm overhyping it? Leave it in the comments below. This was it for me today, folks. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao!